So let's bring him in from Park City, Utah. Again, he's the author of the new book, Savage Son. Okay, so most Americans, I mean, they don't think that, and I've been around now 7 decades, so I don't think my life's going to end. I don't think the government's going to collapse. I'm not an Armageddon kind of guy. I'm not a conspiracy kind of guy. I don't believe that this society is on the verge of extinction. I don't believe any of that. But I do want to protect myself. But most of all, and I think you'll agree with this, because your whole life has been around this, I believe in personal discipline. So I shave every day. I take a shower every day. I keep the house neat. I do what I've always done. I exercise. I don't let this terrible situation affect my personal behavior. Why is that so important?
Right. Well, discipline equals freedom is a phrase that a friend of mine, Jocko Willink, is very fond of saying, and he trained me for 2 of my 7 pre-deployment workups. So that's been a part of what I've done my entire life, which is just be prepared. That comes from the old Boy Scout motto, and I think it's playing out today because we've gotten so comfortable with not having to be prepared, like most of the world has to do. So the main thing is taking a breath and looking around and making some decisions, but staying calm, not panicking. And I'll give you 5 things real quick that relate to the article. And one thing I'd like to discuss with you at some point is that, yes, the enemy is watching, both state and non-state actors. They've been watching us in Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years now, and they're watching what happens due to this pandemic. So that's a whole another topic that I'm fascinated with. But everybody remembers Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you kind of remember that from junior high, high school, maybe college in there, but that foundation needs to be there so that you can focus on the task at hand, so you can solve the problem, so that you can adapt. Without having that food, that water, that shelter, that air, none of the rest of it matters. So you need to take care of that first and foremost. The second part of that hierarchy, if you remember, is safety. So what happens when you pick up that phone and call 911 and no one picks up? The police are minutes away when seconds count is a famous adage. But now it's really coming home to people, and it's really coming home how important it is to be self-reliant, to be able to take care of yourself and your family. You mentioned the fire extinguishers, not just having them, but knowing how to use them. Do you have medicine? Do you have first aid training? Does the rest of your family have that? And then one that's often overlooked is the financial security piece. How many months can you go without a paycheck? Do you have that 3 months of savings ready to go to protect yourself and your family? And then taking it a step further, neighbors and community. In this particular situation, follow these guidelines. First and foremost, don't infect others. Our grandparents, they had to storm the beaches at Normandy and Iwo Jima. All we have to do is not go on spring break and not infect other people. We can definitely do this. First, do no harm. And attached to that is taking care of your neighbors, your community, elderly people in particular, giving them a call, checking on them, and delivering them things that they might not be able to go out and get themselves, sure, but also taking care of that, wiping it down with some Clorox when you leave it for them. So those are the basics right there. And that allows you then to move forward and have a discipline in your schedule. Now that we're isolated, we're at home, we have kids that are watching, kids that are learning. This is going to impact them for their entire lives. Bring them in, help them be part of this team. Be disciplined enough to have that schedule that includes physical activity, that includes the schoolwork, that includes reading, that includes board games, that includes arts and crafts, that includes all of those things that they need, that structure that shows them that we're not victims here. This empowers the kids, it empowers the family, and they can grow and be better citizens, better humans because of what they're going through right now. Yeah, and once you have all that, once you have all that, that allows us to now focus on adapting and solving the problems at hand.
But we can't solve the pandemic problem. That has to be solved at a higher level. But I'll just give you one example. My son is learning to drive now, and there's nobody on the road. So this is a great time for him to get out on the road. So I said to him, hey, here's the keys. Of course, I have to go with him, all right? But now we're gonna get this into our daily structure because he doesn't go to school. And just, jazzed him. I said, we can turn negatives into positives. Now, you can't turn a pandemic into a positive on a big scale. You can't. Pandemic, people are dying, it's horrible, everybody's affected. But in your own personal life, I've noticed that the people who do panic, and I know some of them, and I'm sure you do too, are the least disciplined. They're the ones that don't have the mental discipline. They're the ones that are always, on edge or emotional, or they lack vision. These are the people that fall apart. The really disciplined people who think about life and how they fit into life, they usually don't fall apart. Am I wrong there?
No, that's right. And what also disciplined people are also doing is figuring out how they can do it better next time. They're learning, they're taking notes. What they do right, what did they do wrong? How can they do it better next time as an individual, as a family, as a community, and as a country? So, and then most importantly, implementing those changes and taking action. So that's what discipline is all about.
Right. All right. Now, I have told people that my books are available on Amazon and BillO'Reilly.com. You'll get them fast. You'll learn a lot when you read all the killing books, and you'll be diverted. And diversion is a good thing in the pandemic. Your book, I think, fits that category, Savage Son. It's a novel, but it's a novel based on reality. Tell us why people should order it.
That's right. So it's this is more of an escape, and I think this is why it's resonating with people, and why the first two novels did as well, is because they're total fiction, but they tap into my experience downrange. So I take those feelings and emotions behind those experiences and I weave them into a completely fictional novel. So as people are reading it, if it seems like what the protagonist is dealing with is it seems real, it's because it came from a real place. Those emotions are real, and it's been resonating, and I feel extremely fortunate that people have responded to it, and that Simon and Schuster loved it when it came across their desks.
Yeah, well, in Simon Schuster Big Boys, the first book you wrote is A Terminal List, then True Believer, and the one that it's out April 14th, you can order all three of them, is Savage Son. So, Jack, we'll talk to you down the road. We appreciate your wisdom and your service to the country, and thanks a lot for helping us out today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay.